So good morning everyone. We are the Group 4 and today we will be discussing about sustaining biodiversity and ecosystem. So as we discuss further, we will be able to learn why is it important to sustain the biodiversity and the ecosystem of the earth. But first, let us discuss extinct, endangered, and threatened species. So may I ask Jarvik and Kito to differentiate what is the difference between extinct, endangered, and threatened species. So let us try to see if your answers are all correct. So let us first discuss extinct species. So when we mention the extinct or when we refer to the extinct species, extinction is the complete disappearance of a species from Earth. So, aside sa mga dinosaurs nga atong nailhan that already extinct 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years ago, so another example is the passenger pigeon. So, there are a lot of reasons why a certain species become extinct. So, in this case, the passenger pigeon kuno became extinct due to high exploitation of the pigeon meat or so kanang high rate of eating meat of the pigeon, or ang pagkaon sa meat sa pigeon, and also their habitat loss. Since another factor na makakontribute sa habitat loss is ang pag-destroy sa mga ilang mga kahoy for our own benefit. So we can see that human activities can contribute sa pagpaspas sa extinction rate sa mga species. So extinction is natural but sometimes they increase sharply. So although bisag an extinction of a certain species is normal and natural, but we cannot deny the fact that human activities is the main reason or another factor that can cause na mas mapadali ang extinction rate sa mga species. So when a species can no longer be found anywhere on an earth, so it has suffered biological extinction, and it is called max extinction when the extinction of many species is in a relatively short period of a geologic time. So a certain species became present only in a short period of time. So, Cuerda and Pino, can you give other animals that already extinct aside from what I have mentioned? So, aside sa mga dinosaurs and the pigeons I have mentioned, what other animals have you known nga nag-extinct ago? Okay, so thank you. So, such a large-scale loss of species would also impair some of the Earth's vital ecosystem services, including air, water purification, natural pest control, and pollination. So, since there are lots of animals or species that have a lot of contribution in terms of pollination, water purification, them being extinct could greatly affect the balance of the ecosystem. So since they contributed a lot man in terms of helping reproduction of other species, them being extinct could greatly affect the balance of the ecosystem. Now, let us proceed to the extinction rates. So there are approaches in which other or scientists or mga geologists there are approaches to estimate the extinction rates. So as what you can see on the screen, some check those previous records on what are the reason why a certain species becomes extinct. So they check whether how does this habitat loss affect them, what are the factors that could lead into extinction. So another way is the use of mathematical models to estimate the risk of a particular species becoming endangered or extinct within a certain period of time. So although estimating extinction rates will never be 100% accurate, that is why researchers are continually striving to get more data and identify extinction rates accurately or kanang mas duol-duol so that we can identify what are the factors that greatly affect the extinction of the species. So, why do you think is identifying extinction rates is important? May I ask Mr. Hakasalam to give his insights? Okay, so identifying extinction rates and what cause why this species comes to extinct, we can minimize the factors that affect the extinction rates of a certain species. So, we can minimize the factors na maka-greatly affect sa pag-extinct sa mga species. Now, let us proceed to endangered species. Endangered species has a few individual survivors that the species could soon become extinct. So, pag may nguntag endangered, maihap na lang ang mga species and eventually, hapit na ma-extinct. So, what do you think is the difference sa extinct species and the endangered species? So, may I ask Ms. Kadusala to explain briefly what is the difference of endangered and extinct species? Okay, so you are right. So, pag mo ana tang extinct, it refers to na totally wala na gyud ang mga species, but sa endangered, there are few numbers of species that are eventually prone to extinction. So, sa extinction wala na jud, but sa endangered naapay gamay but ma-prone na sila in extinction due to gamay na lang ilang numbers. So now that we have differentiate the extinct species and threatened endangered species, let us proceed to threatened species. So when we say threatened species, they are prone to endangered. So eventually, threatened and most likely na factors na makalead nila to become an endangered species. So for example, the table shows the different characteristics of some species. So for example, sa blue whale, they tend to have low reproductive rates. So so there is a tendency na panagsara sila reproduce. So if they are continuously hunted, wala na sila time para maka-reproduce and probably maka-lead sila to become endangered. Kay since low man ilang reproduction rate, so there would be a tendency nga dili sila maka-reproduce and then the number of the species would eventually hanang magkagamay. So if magkagamay-gamay ang numbers of species, that could eventually lead to endangered and eventually become to extinct. So you can see in the table there are some factors or examples why a certain species becomes to endangered, or ano na yung mga factors nga maka-affect or naiuban nga they only feed in topographic level. So this could lead them na there are threatened species that could eventually lead them to become an endangered one. May I ask Ms. Sarno to give another example of a threatened species o unsa ang ilang mga characteristics why they become threatened species? Okay, thank you for that. So as you can see, humans play a vital role sa pagpaspas sa extinction rate since we oftentimes destroy ilang mga habitat to supply our own needs. So to summarize the discussion for today, when we say extinct, a certain species is totally gone or had suffered to a biological extinction. So, pag may ganitang biological extinction, they cannot adapt to a rapid changes of their environment. While endangered or referred to the species that is prone to extinct. And gamay na lang sila, that is why they are prone to extinction. And lastly, threatened species refers to those species that is prone to endangered. So both endangered and threatened species could lead to extinction.